if you're in a conversation around what is my calling, the first thing is does it align with my talent, and is it consistent with my values? Those are the first kind of two, right? I think the third thing around mapping, around determining if something is your calling, is does it contribute to others? Is it something that's a contribution? Fundamentally, if it's your calling, the sort of the highest expression of all this, I would assert, I would say, is that is the contribution that we're going to make in life, the difference we're going to make for others. That at our highest expression is that we're productive, right? And I don't have evidence for this, but I would tell you that I firmly believe that a calling is never destructive. It's always productive. I don't think we're called to blow things up. you know, I think we're called to be productive in some way. And even if your job is blowing things up, I think, it's in service of something that you're building. So I think part of figuring out your calling is figuring out what your contribution is. Now, will your talents give you some access to that? Absolutely. Will your values give you some access to that? Absolutely. But it's also getting clear, what is the thing I want to contribute with my life? What is the thing? What is the difference that I want to make? How do I want to be productive? How do I want to be a contribution? And I think for all of us, I think that's the highest expression of who we are, is what is the difference we're going to leave on the planet? We all have a life that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the end always comes quicker than we think it's going to come. And part of figuring out who you are in the world and figuring out your life is figuring out what difference do I want to make. And so part of sorting out your calling is to be able to say, is this what I want to contribute? Is this the difference I want to make? Can I see myself making that difference? And in some ways, it becomes what your life becomes in service of. That your life, instead of being service of your wants or your needs, your life becomes in service of the contribution that you are. And so that's really the third thing, to kind of inquire about if you're looking at your calling is, what do I want to contribute, or how am I going to contribute to others? Okay. The fourth thing is, and I think this is a real interesting one, is it should be something that you have a unique insight into. It should be something that it's a difference, but it's not necessarily a difference that everyone would make. It's the difference that you're uniquely positioned to make. It's the difference that where you have a unique insight, or you have a unique contribution that will contribute meaningfully in that area. I always think that a calling is something, I'm going to use an analogy, and this analogy has been politicized like so many things in our world these days, right? But a calling oftentimes is like a dog whistle. A dog whistle where they have this whistles. It's a high-pitched whistle that only the dog can hear. Humans can't hear it because it's at such a high frequency. The dog can hear it, and the dog is like, oh, yep, this is it, right? I think that often your calling is like that in life. It's like a dog whistle. It's something that you see or hear, a difference that you see could be made. Something's missing that you could contribute. Something's available that other people don't see. I think that's where people, by the way, get stopped in their relationship with their calling, is they see something and they say, wow, if only that were available, wow, the world would be different. Or if only that could be contributed, man, everything would change, right? And then they look around and there's no agreement around them for that thing. Nobody else. It's like, do you see how good that would be? And everybody around is like, no, I never really even thought about that, right? But do you see that that's missing? No, I didn't really even see that was missing. And people get stumped, right? It's like, oh, wow, because I don't have any agreement around this, maybe I shouldn't do this thing, or maybe it's not really necessary. No. It's because that's your calling. That's not their calling, right? That's your calling. Your calling is to provide that thing that you see missing, right? And that's really what a calling is about, is that you uniquely see something that is available or could be available, and that you have the opportunity to go provide that. And I really do believe that that's the essence really of not just a calling, but of leadership, is that you're somebody that you see something and you're called to be able to provide it. And in the beginning, by the way, part of providing it is starting to build agreement around it, right? One of the big steps early on is, when it seems like a bad idea to everybody else, your job is to start to say, wouldn't it be great if we had this? Wouldn't it be great if we fixed that? Wouldn't it be great if that was available? Right. And to get people kind of on board with that, that would really make a difference.